the majority of the broader media and the government messaging around the world that we are in today is focused on creating. It's focused on trying to create a scarcity mindset in people so that they are more willing to accept these Orwellian restrictions.
Yeah, and now, P, if you go to what I said I'd come back to afterwards. Imagine a CBDC. So just imagine um, other nations trusting China's CBDC. Probably not going to be the reserve currency of the world. It's illogical to think that every other nation is going to trust a new nation currency to do that. So now imagine a number of CBDCs. What that means is, because the manipulation of currency, the only reason it can continue to exist is through coercion. It needs to destroy the free markets, and it needs to drive coercion as part of the plan. So misinformation is part of it, whether real or implied. There's a whole bunch of people, and they might tell themselves this: we have to do it to. If you look at Klaus and that whole game, we have to do this to protect all those stupid people from starving. They might actually believe it, and 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 we're only in this position because money was manipulated in the first place, that we get around to be able to destroy the free market. And then and then the free market of ideas, my book, for instance, was a shot against that, where it just simply says, why don't prices fall when technology makes them fall? Which is an entirely different idea than the way of the world today. But if you just keep going and saying, if we couldn't see how we would change from, for me, I use this example often. I used to use a BlackBerry, and I used that BlackBerry, and I was guaranteed I would never change my BlackBerry. I loved my BlackBerry. I loved my buttons on my BlackBerry. And so when the iPhone came out and everybody said I thought it was a toy, and then I saw it, and immediately it changed. So let's call it 3 years. Steve Jobs is developing the iPhone before I knew. All the while, everything is good, and he has this idea to launch that I couldn't see, and then I couldn't understand when it was there. It was like a 0 to 1 moment. When it was there, my mind changed instantly, and now I chose something new that gave me more value, and that new value changed Apple, and it changed an entire industry, and BlackBerry faded off into the distance as a result. So now, if I can't see my own change, and I'm pretty good at understanding where technology is going, timing, and everything else, and I can't see my own change or what was coming to inspire that change 3 years before that change happened, how is it that any central authority could decide all of our actions before they're there? And what you'll see in that is why a CBDC will never work, because it says that central control can understand all of our actions before it's there. It's impossible.
Now it's that last statement that I both love and want to explore, and it's the fact that a CBDC cannot work. I love your explanation of, if people can corrupt money, they will. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Uh, but with all of these in mind, I unfortunately, and I think all of us would be in agreement, that the attempts to create CBDCs will not stop, nor will the attempts to create other forms of cryptocurrencies. And these attempts will continue to stop.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are these explorations of this form of technology any way hindering both the growth of Bitcoin and the legitimacy of Bitcoin?
I think it accelerates it. I think it accelerates it all over the world. I think this is unstoppable. It's inevitable. It's going to be messy on the way through. And if you understand how much everything is mispriced in the world, and the control structures to misprice everything, that being on the wrong side of that fence at any given time, it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be really chaotic. But I suspect this is inevitable just because the game theory and mechanics into this and all of the value creation that people will not give up. When you deliver a value that is that much more valuable to society, people change, just like I did with my iPhone. Now, remember, the iPhone, 10 years before that, there was a Palm Pilot that was similar, but it wasn't the timing that were, and not everybody changed. Today, what's happening with what's coming on top of these layers, on top of Bitcoin, or Bitcoin alone as a protocol, but on top of that, it's literally unstoppable.
And my next question, again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I want to figure out where is the weakness in Bitcoin, and one of my fears right now is a lot of the regulatory efforts. Do you pay any of this any mind? Do you care what a politician does or say? I feel like Bitcoiners are all across this spectrum. Some are so passionate, while others couldn't give a flying fuck who the president is or what they say.
Yeah, all of these things are probably more nuanced, and just like I don't have all the best ideas all the time, other people are saying it their way, bringing other people on their way. But what I will say is the leaders will change too. We give our leaders too much power and think they know better everywhere else because we give them power, and we make this opaque institution. We give it so much power by saying they'll do this, they'll do this. What if they do? When we have all the power, just more people just walk across the bridge. I'm going to highlight this. So when I was in Oslo, I could not believe that all of these freedom fighters are talking about the exact same thing in their different countries, and if they got elected, it would look exactly the same. Because they'd have to manipulate money further. It would just be a different face on that problem, and it would look exactly the same. And so I actually was a little bit, I would say, coming away from that and understanding that some of the people that should know most why Bitcoin is important know least. I was disheartened, and then we were and then we went up to Lofoten with this small group of Bitcoiners and some of those activists all over the world, and the rightful president of Venezuela said after that, he said, "Here I was with all of these followers, thinking that I could make change." And on the front line of this change, he was jailed. He was in solitary confinement for 5 years, and coming out, and all of these followers and I was cut off from the system, from money. And so here I am on the front lines, thinking this, and then seeing other countries, activists in their countries on different front lines, and then seeing Bitcoin on their own front lines, and I didn't realize that it's the same front line. It was always about money. And unless that's fixed, there is no solve to the system. So when you can start to activate people that see what it's really about, that have all of these, and they start to move over and they start to bring more and more people, it just accelerates. And that's why you're seeing the network effects on Bitcoin and Lightning and the entire ecosystem accelerate. It's so going back to giving the state too much power. You give the state too much power because you think you don't have a voice. You think you don't have, and you don't do the things you'll do. So I think they say 3% of a population stands up against something, stands up against the state. The state's over. But never, very rarely does 3% of a population stand up against. Most people hide from the state. In this case, you don't have to hide. You just move. You just move, and you defund the state by moving, and you give more power to the network.
I want to, if we can't explore.
Can I just, because you just leave yourself up for a sec, but also those people in the old monopolies, in the old they age out. and new people replace them. And if there's a massive amount of younger people that understand this and why that's more important, the more people that start to understand it elect new leaders, and things change. And so we get, and I say the broader we, because people want Bitcoin to go up to 100,000 tomorrow. They're in this, what's going on right now? What's the thing? What is the one person who's going to change this? What is the one person who I bring on that changes everything? And it doesn't look like that. It's an emergent network that gets stronger and stronger and stronger, while the existing network gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's actually what you want in the network transition. Yes, it's going to be messy. Yes, there's going to be, 2 years ago, I wrote something called The Greatest Game. And if you follow what's happening in The Greatest Game from the existing system, it's just playing out exactly like I wrote would happen in that article. And so, yes, this is an emergent system. It's early. It's an asymmetric bet, but it's way more than an asymmetric bet of money. Everything on Bitcoin, everything against Bitcoin will fall in price forever. If you're saying Bitcoin will rise in price forever, what you're actually stepping in the trap of is falling into the error code of the existing system.